exclusive episode of The Sheriff. Guys, tonight I am blessed to have a gentleman that I really look up to and that really, really inspires me. We're going to go with the theme today for this episode for a saying that this gentleman is known for, and I'm going to say it, I quote, think big, dream hard, and dare to be different. And I can see him smiling right now because I can tell that that's all what he's all about. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring him in right away. Without further ado, the Trevor Whiffen. How are you doing, my friend?
Sean, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem, buddy. I am so excited to have you on the show, and there's many reasons why. First off, we have history together, my friend. Our careers, we do. Our careers have intertwined, but man, I cannot get over the record that you have in hockey, Trevor, the resume, okay? Especially like the London Knights is pretty much what I'm talking about here. We both have had our careers intertwined with the London Knights. Yours a lot longer than mine, right? So there's a lot of reasons here, but I want to pick your brain, Trevor, and I kind of want to start from the beginning.
And of course,
I want to start
our careers intersect with the Mississauga Ice Dogs too, originally. And then
Yes.
we both found our way to the Knights. So we have those 2 points of intersection in junior
That's
hockey.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. So now, Trevor, I am inspired by the way that you've lived your life, your career in general. I want to figure out why. I want to figure out how. I want to go to the beginning. I want to talk about Ancaster a little bit, my friend.
Oh. Well, you have done your homework. Yeah, Ancaster's a long time ago, but it's still near and dear to my heart. It's my hometown.
Yes. Yes. So now, were you born in Ancaster?
No, I was born in Brantford, in the Brantford General Hospital, just like Wayne Gretzky, but that's where our careers sort of went in different directions. Me and Wayne from Brantford.
So the same hospital, though, the great one.
Yep, Brantford General, right downtown.
Okay, right on. So now, but you grew up in Ancaster, I'm assuming.
Yeah, my parents emigrated from England to Brantford, Ontario. I was born there. We moved to Hamilton. I lived in Hamilton for 9 years. And Hamilton very much played a role in sort of developing who I am even to this day. Like there were lessons I learned as a young kid growing up in Hamilton that have stayed with me, including sort of don't let anybody push you around and don't let anybody steal your candy on Halloween, which happened to me when I was 9 years old. And I thought that's never going to happen again. So, yeah, so I'm grateful to Hamilton, and still am very fond of Hamilton, and I have Ticats seasons tickets there. And but I did grow up in Ancaster in the formative years, like grade 6 through 13. Then went off to McMaster University. Still lived in Ancaster. Went to Queens for law school, and then to Toronto for the big city lights on Bay Street. And I've practiced on Bay Street for over 30 years, but I still consider Hamilton and Ancaster home, and Brantford in a way too, although I don't remember anything about Brantford other than what I've learned since. So,
yes. Now, Trevor, this is what I find incredibly interesting. Now, I was watching this one interview that you did, and you explained how sports was such a big part of your life, such a big passion of yours, that your mother would often warn you, you better pay more attention to school, not just all sports, young man. So you were just like me, man. Every sport you loved, right? It was a big part of your life.
You know, and I used to keep my own statistics. Like for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, I would write out, you know, in longhand in a book that I kept, how many rushing yards were recorded by each running back, like back before the days of the internet when you could get that information readily accessible. I would write it all down by hand. I was sort of a sports nerd, but I also played every sport going too. But I very much love sports. Hockey was my first passion. Football 1B, probably among sports, lacrosse, soccer. I even played basketball in high school, believe it or not, because as you know, I'm not blessed with a lot of height, but I was a guard and I could handle the ball. So I played every sport going and love sports, and I love music too. So music is also very important to me, although I'm not gifted as a musician, but I certainly do enjoy music and consider music an important part of my life. But sports number one, no question.
Right on. Now, so this is another interesting thing, Trevor. Now, I know like the education route that you went, obviously, you know, you were in McMaster, but now this is some things that I want to mention that stood out when I was looking at it. The Dean's Honor List, and also the recipient of the University Canadian Scholarship.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
too shabby, my man.
I was fortunate to get the Canadian Club Scholarship for, I guess, the highest grade in history. And as an interesting aside, when I was awarded the scholarship, and received the scholarship and the funding, I had the privilege of sitting at lunch with Kenneth Taylor, Canada's ambassador to Iran during the Iranian crisis, hostage-taking crisis in 1979-80. So,
Yeah.
what a cool thing as a young guy getting into law to sit with Canada's ambassador to Iran. And of course, they did the movie Argo with Ben Affleck.
I've seen it. No, it's a great movie.
Yeah. And, 3 or 4 years later, I'm at an airport with a buddy going to Florida, and I say, hey, there's Ken Taylor, Canada's ambassador to Iran. I've met him. And he's like, you haven't met him. And I went over, and he actually remembered having met me at that luncheon, which was very flattering. And even if he was maybe pulling wool over my eyes, he pulled it off. And we believed that, yeah, he did remember meeting me in Hamilton at the Canada Club luncheon. So, yeah, no, I've been blessed to have a lot of interesting experiences and met a lot of really interesting people in my time. I'm very lucky.
Yes, 100%. So now, Trevor, because sports was such a big thing in your life, right? Did you know when you decided to go to law school that you were going to be involved in the law of sport? Like did you have that plan?
I guess I had the dream, but I didn't have the plan. Like when I was in law school, which is a long, long time ago, there were no sports law courses. There were no primetime sports conferences you could go to.
Yes.
You probably didn't know anybody that worked in sports. Sports businesses hadn't evolved the way they are now. Like Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment is a massive corporation now that hires lawyers, accountants, sports event management people, marketing people, corporate sponsorship people. Like, if there's a skill you have, you can probably find a job at Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, but that didn't exist way back when. So you had the dream of maybe working in sports, but you had no idea how you were going to get there. One thing I did know, Sean, was that I needed a break, and my break came on a snowy Friday afternoon in February, I think, of 1989, when I got a call out of the blue from Hockey Night in Canada, who needed somebody to represent Don Cherry in a case against the Winnipeg Jets. And I was like the only guy in the office on a Friday afternoon in February. Everybody else was off skiing. I took the call, fielded the questions, represented Don. And so my first two clients as a young aspiring sports lawyer were Hockey Night in Canada, #1. And my second client was Don Cherry. Like, you can't get luckier than that. And Don is still a friend of mine and a client of mine right to this very day. I just spoke to him on the weekend for 45 minutes. So, it's been a great ride. And I've been, as I say, I've been fortunate to be blessed with the opportunity to know and meet and work with and learn from a lot of pretty influential and successful people. So it's been a great ride. I've been very fortunate.
Okay, so now this is getting even juicier, Trevor. Okay, so this is great. So this was right off the hop. Those were literally your first two clients?
Yeah. Like you think you might get the coach of the Lindsay Muskies as your first client, but I was fortunate. Hockey Night in Canada and Don Cherry. And with Don, we've worked together for 30 plus years now. So it's been a great run. He's a very, very good friend. He's like a family member to me, and he's been very loyal and very supportive of me in all sorts of things that I've done. So I'm very grateful to Don. Couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so excited that you actually brought Don up right now too. So that's obviously was the beginning of your guys' pretty much lifelong relationship. You can consider it now, right?
Oh yeah. We started working together on the project of getting an OHL team for Mississauga in the summer of 1996, when the OHL indicated that they wanted to expand into the greater GTHL area. At that point in time, the OHL only had the Oshawa Generals, and there was no St. Mike's Majors yet. They were coming. There was no Mississauga Ice Dogs, no Brampton Battalion. And we saw an opportunity to start a junior team in Mississauga and applied for the franchise, and were not successful at first. Brampton got theirs in December of 96, and we were awarded ours at the next Board of Governors meeting on January 21 of 1997. So, we were on the landscape in the OHL as of January of 97 and got the Hershey Centre built. to play host to our team. And it's been a great experience. And that led to, we ran the team for 5 years and then eventually sold it. And I moved on to London. And I've been fortunate to be the governor of the London Knights for 19 years now, 19 seasons.
Wow.
And of course, lots has happened in London in the last 19 years.
Yes.
Four OHL championships, 5 trips to the Memorial Cup and 2 Memorial Cup championships. So it's been a fabulous run. And once again, getting to work, side by side with Dale Hunter and Mark Hunter has been just a tremendous opportunity. And just so you know, when Mark Hunter got your rights from Kingston in a trade way back when, I was talking to Mark and he said, I got Sean McMorrow because you can never have too much toughness. Those were the words spoken directly by Mark Hunter.
Well, and I appreciate that insight because stuff like that is so cool, Trevor. You know what I mean? Like you hear things like that on shows like this, and you know that's a treat because that's insight, and it was a while ago. So I appreciate that.
But
so now, Trevor,
that's high praise from a guy like Mark Hunter is one of the most astute talent evaluators on the planet when it comes to hockey or any sport for that matter. And for Mark to deliberately seek you out because you had a skill that he needed. So, he said you can never have too much toughness. And Sean McMorrow's got toughness in spades. And of course, I knew that because I had you and Brian McGrattan and Danny Sullivan in Mississauga back in the 2000 season. We didn't have a lot of skill. We had Jason Spezza, who of course was a star, Chad Wiseman, who was a great junior and played a bit in the NHL, and Pat Jarrett, who also was a great junior. But we had a lot of toughness. Nobody pushed us around with you, McGrattan, and Danny Sullivan in the lineup.
You're absolutely right. Now, I want to add to a few of these talking points that you've done here. So now, Mississauga, Trevor, I want to point out some things because there's a couple names that have been brought up. Now, Don Cherry, man, I was so honored to have him as a special guest on the show, as I am with you right now, as I was with Mark Hunter probably about 2 months ago now, Hunts. The time has been flying, Trevor, since the end of the summer to now, right?
Great guest to have, Cherry and Hunter. Those are 2 iconic names in the hockey business.
Trust me, you have no idea how grateful I was and how much fun I had in those episodes. So now let me tell you this. When you were the founder with Grapes, Don Cherry, with this Mississauga Ice Dogs team, I truly believe, Trevor, that that's the reason why all those other teams that you mentioned were added to the league. So I accredit you, man, for bringing Major Junior Hockey to the GTHL because literally you did. Because Oshawa's not in the GTHL. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, Oshawa, of course, is about 40 miles east of Toronto. But that was as close as the
GTA, I should say. Sorry.
Toronto at that time.
Yes.
And you had St. Mike's then join the league just before us. And they played out of Maple Leaf Gardens originally. And then we joined with Brampton. And of course, Brampton's now moved on. But there's still a team in Mississauga. And
yes.
That's part of the legacy that we're proud to have helped start in Mississauga.
And let me add to this legacy because this is it from a player's standpoint, Trevor. And I said the same thing to Don when he was on the show. First of all, you mentioned the Hershey Centre. Man, what a facility.
Yes.
What a facility, Trevor.
Yes.
Right?
In its day, when it opened in 1998, it was the state-of-the-art best junior hockey rink, certainly in the OHL, maybe across the CHL. 6,000 seats, custom suites, big dressing room with fitness and workout areas. Like NHL guys looked at our dressing room and said, like, this is better than what we have in the NHL. We had great space. And Don was instrumental. Don Cherry was instrumental in mapping out what that part of the arena was going to look like because he'd been in more rinks than anybody you'd ever would know. So he made sure that our players had a nice big dressing room with workout facilities and big showers and a coach's room right off the main dressing room and a trainer's room that was also inside. So you didn't have to go wandering down the hall. It was all self-contained. And even the visitors' dressing room was pretty good for a visitors' rink, visiting teams coming to your rink. So it was a great facility. Still is a great facility.
Trevor, it was absolutely incredible. And from a player's standpoint, like I literally felt like I was in the NHL when I played with that team. We did have the best arena, hands down.
No
The
question.
dressing room, the dressing room was the best dressing room that I'd ever stood foot into. We
Yeah.
had sauna, we had multiple hot tubs, cold tubs.
Yes.
We had the massage tables. You gave every possible advantage for us to feel comfortable, to feel professional, and to be successful. So that first and foremost needs to be pointed out. Okay. Secondly, the players that were developed through the like any expansion team is gonna have like difficulty progressing. Everyone knows that, Trevor. But Jason Spezza, Brian McGrattan, Lou Dickinson, these guys
Yeah.
that came
Yeah.
through the organization through you, man, they had incredible careers, Trevor. Right? So that's hats off to you, my friend.
Well, thank you. Jason Spezza, wasn't hard to pick him because he was a prodigy right from the time he was about 14. And, the tough thing would have been how you would have regretted not taking Jason Spezza. But, Jason was tremendous. He was the poster boy for junior hockey for 4 years in the
Yeah.
OHL. If you remember, he played in the World Juniors, I think 4 different times, including as a 16-year-old, one of the youngest players ever. And Jason, to this day, is always very gracious and humble and respectful when I see him. And his parents, Don and Reno are great. And Matt, his brother, and his sister, I think it's Michelle. They're all like, it's just a great family, the Spezza family. I have a tremendous respect for them. So we were lucky to have some good players come through, but we did struggle as an expansion team, no question.
Now I remember Trevor, like with Spets being on the team, you know, before he was traded, you know what I mean? He was touted to go first overall, right? That like it
Yeah,
was going to be either him or Kovalchuk, right?
yeah.
So
And
there
he, and
was a
he
lot
went
of
second, of course, to Kovalchuk.
yes, yes, there was a lot of attention, and I remember him getting a lot of attention when we would come out of the dressing room. And it's funny that you brought up Matt because I'm actually pretty good friends with Matt now. You know, Matt started his Spezza sanitation services, and you know I'm pretty good buddies with him. Jason's playing for the Leafs, so it's funny how everyone kind of seems to come back to
Yeah,
where we
yeah,
started too, right?
yeah.
And
I've seen Matt recently when Jason was scratched by Babcock in the home opener 3 years ago.
very
I saw
disappointed
Matt
with him.
that night at Scotiabank Arena, and needless to say, the whole Spezza family was disappointed that Jason was not being given an opportunity to be in the starting lineup on opening night in his hometown, and that was really, I think, poorly handled by Babcock. Let's face it was Babcock's
Yeah,
decision.
yeah,
Jason deserved a lot better than that. Like, you mentioned about Jason being traded from the Mississauga Ice Dogs. He did ask for a trade in his second
yes.
year, and we accommodated that request. But I harbor no malice whatsoever against Jason. He wanted to do what he thought was best for him and for his development. And we did the best to accommodate him, and ended up trading him to Windsor. I think Windsor got the better of the deal because you typically judge a trade based upon who gets the best player, and whoever got Jason Spezza was going to get the best player. So we did okay, the guys we got back, but Spezza was a stud, no question. Like, remember, he came into our league as a double underager and got 71 points as a 15-year-old in the OHL, and not many guys have done that. Taylor Hall, I think, came close. Lindros is close. Lindros would have been earlier than Jason, but not many players at that age have the ability to put up that kind of points in the Ontario Hockey League. Jason's first class. I cheer for him every shift with the Leafs.
Well, man, he was a handful of exempted players too, right, Trevor? Like the exemption to be able to play when
He
you're 15.
he actually played before there was the formal exemption for double
Really?
underagers. Back
Okay.
in the day, in 1998, when Jason joined the Ontario Hockey League, the rule was, and I'm telling maybe tales out of school here, but the rule was at that point, if you were a 15-year-old, you could only play in your home center. So if you happen to be growing up in a
That's
city that
right.
had an OHL team, you could play there. Dennis Potvin did that. Rico Feuda and Sault Ste. Marie. Kirk Muller with Kingston, but not many played as a 15-year-old. Jason came to Mississauga as a 15-year-old, and our coach at the time was a guy named Peter Sturgeon, who decided that Jason wasn't good enough to play for the Mississauga Ice Dogs, and the Spezza family moved their family to Brampton that summer so that Jason could play for the Brampton Battalion.
So this is the part where like I'm a little bit excited only because it's just exciting stuff. Now, when you joined the London Knights organization after the Mississauga Ice Dogs, okay? Now, at first, no, you're one of the governors, right? Like you're the rep for the board of governors for the London Knights, right?
Every team in the league, there's 20 teams in the league. Every team has a governor. The 20 governors run the league along with David Branch as commissioner and Ted Baker as vice president. So the governors are kind of a liaison between the team and the league office, and a liaison between each of the teams. So we deal with everything from equipment changes, rule changes, player safety, dealings with the other federations, the IHF, the USHA, or US hockey rather, equipment suppliers, all kinds of stuff.
So in short, you could just say we do everything.
Well, the governors run the league, but we don't do it by ourselves. Obviously, there's a big staff at the OHL office, and each of the 20 member teams play a key role in running the league. But we sort of oversee a lot of different things that happen at the league level.
So there's two major things that I want to discuss with these London Knights. Okay, well, actually three, because the Hunters will be another topic. Okay, now first off, I want to talk about the incredible success that has happened with this group of guys, this organization, the London Knights, since Trevor Whiffen has been involved.
I appreciate you phrasing that way, but my involvement has played only an insignificant role in the success of the team. The real geniuses behind the success are Dale Hunter, Mark Hunter, and Basil McRae. Basil is director of player personnel with Columbus Blue Jackets of the NHL, but it's one of our owners. And these guys are like Mark and Dale and Baz are thoroughbreds when it comes to hockey pedigrees. You know, they played probably 45 years in the National Hockey League between the three of them, and played probably over 3,000, 4,000 games. So they understand what it takes to become a pro and to stay in the National Hockey League. And I've been lucky to be sort of providing support in areas where it's not their strong suit. And I've been along for the ride, 19 seasons, and we've won, I don't think we've ever finished worse than 9th overall in the league. We've won 4 OHL championships. We've been to 5 Memorial Cups. We've won 2 Memorial Cups. We've hosted 2 Memorial Cups. And along the way, we've sent over 60 players to the National Hockey League in the last few years, including some pretty notable guys like Rick Nash, Corey Perry, Pat Kane, John Tavares, Nazem Kadri, Mitch Marner, Bo Horvat, Max Domi, Patrick Maroon, and
Dennis Weidman.
Christian Dvorak, who just is making a splash up in Montreal, is also a London Knight too, among many, many others. Dennis Weidman, all kinds, Dan Girardi, all kinds of guys. Brandon Prust, David Boland, scored the winning goal in the 2013 Stanley Cup for Chicago. David Boland, London Knight. Baravi Shremp, one of the greatest juniors ever, like just unbelievable skill. And you would have played against Shrempy and know exactly what I mean.
Yes. Okay, so now that's perfectly said right there, Trevor, because you said what the stats there, right? Because that's what I wanted to go over, just to let the listeners understand how successful this organization has been, because I believe it's been the most successful organization in the last 20 years when it comes to winning percentage.
In terms of winning percentage, yes. In terms of players drafted by the National Hockey League, yes. We had 2 years, Sean, where we had 3 guys taken in the first round. Of the NHL draft. When the draft was in New York, we had Max Domi, Nikita Zadorov, and Bo Horvat all taken in the top 11.
Wow.
I think it was top 11, maybe top 16. And then when we won the Memorial Cup in 2016, we had Oli Jalebi, Matthew Kachuk, and Max Jones all taken in the first round. Like, it's been a remarkable run. And I think we've had 21 players drafted in the first round in the last 20 seasons. And that's more than any club team anywhere in the world.
That's incredible.
The U.S. National Development Program had one great year, but we have a lot of great years over a long period of time. So I'm very proud of our draft record and, of course, our record on the ice and the great young men that we've turned out, not just hockey players, but guys who've gone on to be lawyers, teachers, doctors, accountants, firemen, policemen, pillars of their society back in either in London or in their hometowns. So, I'm very proud of the young men that have played for us. It's been a great success story.
It's very, very impressive. But what's even more impressive that I find is just kind of the risk taking that was also involved with it, Trevor. Like, I was there before they got the new arena. Yes. I remember the criticism. A downtown arena will never work. There's nowhere to park. It's not a good idea. The Hunters just had a vision. They stuck with it. And man, was it ever successful.
Well, it's funny. There's a guy I know out of the U.S., a guy named Rick Horrow, who's a facilities expert. And he's written a book about where you should build facilities. And the name of the book should be Build It Downtown, because that's the thesis of his book is build it downtown. It will serve as a catalyst for urban renewal in just about any center. And we're seeing that now in Detroit with a new rink there. But coming back to London, yes, the London Knights used to play at the old Ice Garden south of the 401, like a long ways from town and a long way from the north end of London. And there's no beltway to get around London. So if you lived in northern London, it was a long haul to get to the rink. They built the arena downtown. And, the old expression is before they built the arena, you couldn't find a restaurant open on a Friday night. Now you can't find a seat in a restaurant on a Friday night because they're all full. It's been a great urban renewal story. 10,000 people coming downtown at least 34 nights a year during the winter. It's great for the city of London.
It's absolutely incredible. And how awesome would it be for a player to be able to play in front of 9,000-10,000 a night on a Friday night, have a chance to win every single year? I mean, Trevor, it's unbeatable program, right?
We're 8-0 again this year to start the season with all kinds of rookies in the lineup. People say to me, how good's your team? And I say, I really don't know because we have so many rookies. We haven't really seen them play a lot. And a lot of other teams have a lot of rookies. And so we haven't even had a chance to evaluate other teams. When we played Owen Sound on opening night 3 weeks ago, there were 25 players on the ice for the two teams that had never played a game in the OHL at that point because of the double cohort of rookies joining the league because of COVID and missing a season. So, it's been a tremendous success story. And I can't say enough about what a pleasure it's been to work with Mark and Dale Hunter. Like, these guys are thoroughbreds, as I say, and they're super, super competitive. Like, I laugh. There was a game many years ago when Dave Gagne, who was Sam Gagne's father, another guy that got drafted in the first round.
Yes.
But Dave Gagne was one of our assistant coaches, and we won a game 6-1 on a Friday night. And Mark and Dale were both upset because we'd missed 2 scoring opportunities and gave up a weak goal. It should have been 8-0. And I remember Dave Gagne saying, guys, let's try and enjoy the fact that we just won a game 6-1. Yes, it could have been 8-0, but it was still 6-1. So the Hunters are super competitive and they want to win and they know what to do to win because they've lived, breathed, and eaten hockey, slept hockey their entire lives. So there isn't anything happens on the ice that didn't happen to Dale 1,000 times in his NHL career. So
exactly, man. I didn't know that you guys are 8-0 to start the season.
Yeah.
That's an attention grabber right there because Carolina and these teams are all undefeated so far. What about the London Knights? 8-0.
Although in our Memorial Cup year of 2005, we started the season 29-0-2. So we didn't lose until Christmas when David Boland and Robbie Schremp and Corey Perry and Danny Severette were all off at the World Juniors. So we started. So like 8-0 is great. 29-0-2 is the mark that we measure a great start by, because we were fortunate to have that.
Now, that was the team that everyone called the super team, right? The best team ever.
It was voted CHL Team of the Century.
Team of the Century.
Our overall record that year, Sean, was 79-9-2. 79. We played 91 games and we won 79 times. And we probably could have won 81 because we went up to the Sioux and Sudbury in a northern swing at the end of the season and took some junior B guys with us so that we could rest Corey Perry and Danny Severette and David Boland and Robbie Schremp, make sure they didn't get injured, you know, in what was really a game that was not going to advance our position. Like we set an OHL record in 2004 for points in a season with 210. That's the most points ever for an OHL team, 210. The next year we did 120. Like, just a remarkable team. And 11 of those guys went on to play in the National Hockey League. So it's been just such a tremendous success story, and for me, just an absolute delight to be part of it.
So now, Trevor, so now to me, because I'm a former player, this is what's more impressive to me even. I want to talk about the Memorial Cup bids that you were head of, okay?
Yeah.
Now, not only do I know how upset people were that it was within the time that it was, 05 and 2014, right?
Yes, only 9 years apart.
But there's a lot that goes into it, Trevor. And I want you to show the listeners, you know what I mean? Explain how much you put into this, buddy.
Okay, well, here's the process. When you're applying to host the Memorial Cup, you have to have, first and foremost, a team that is going to be competitive a year from now. So when we first bid on the Memorial Cup in 2004, we had a team that had just set a record for points in a season with 110. And we were returning almost that entire team except for the 3 overagers. So we could say with a straight face that, hey, we're going to be a great team again next year because we just had 110 points, 51 wins, 53 wins. And we're returning almost that entire team. So that's the first ingredient in the equation. You have to have a great rink. And, you know, we had a newly minted John Labatt Center, as it was then known, back in 2004 when we bid on it, that holds 9,090 for hockey. And we were able to point to the fact that we sold, in a league where the average attendance is about 3,500, we sold 9,090 tickets game in and game out, and still do. Like, we've sold out the vast majority of our games over the 18, 19 years that we've been in that facility. So we could point to that. We also have great hotels in London. You know, you've got major hotels that can be used as host hotels for the tournament. You need 5 good hotels. So that helped too. We had never hosted the Memorial Cup, which I think played in our favor. It was our 40th anniversary the first year. So that played in our favor. And we did a pre-sale, because part of the equation as well when you're bidding is, will your event be financially successful? And we did a pre-sale for Memorial Cup in 2004 for the 2005 season. And we sold every ticket more than 1 year in advance.
No way. Really?
Can't do much better than that. Yeah, I was out in Kelowna in 2004 having breakfast with David Branch. And I said, oh, Dave, I just got word that we've sold all the tickets for next year. And you can see he nodded his head like he wasn't sure what I meant by that. I said, no, like, we've now sold every ticket package. We're at the Kelowna Memorial Cup in 2004. I said, we've sold every ticket package for the Memorial Cup next year in London. Never happened before. And so fast forward, or slow forward, to 2014, we bid again, and we have a great team. We've just won the OHL championship in 2012 with a very young team. We won it again in 2013 with a very young team. We still had a great rink. We still had great community support. We sold out the event again more than a year in advance that year. And so, yeah, you know, there were, like, Barrie, for example, was upset that they didn't get it. But I think, you know, evidently the committee, which included Paul Beeston, Jim Gregory, Scott Moore from Sportsnet, Dave Branch, Gord Kirk, the league lawyer, obviously they thought that our bid was compelling enough to justify giving it back to us again 9 years later. Now, for those that were unhappy that we got it 9 years apart, uh, the sad part of the story was that we did not win. We hosted it and we had a great team like Bo Horvat, Chris Tierney, all the Max Domi, all those guys were still back, and we'd won the first, or we won the championship in 2012 and 2013 with a very young team, and we didn't end up winning a game at all in the year that we hosted in 2014. And the one thing that I never anticipated in the year and a half of preparing to host the Memorial Cup in 2014 was that we would run into a hot goalie from Baie-Comeau. I think he was from Baie-Comeau or Naranda Naroon. Bibo, who got drafted by the Leafs. He stopped like 53 shots in the first game against us, and we didn't win a game in the tournament we hosted. And I never thought for a moment that we would be going home, as the expression goes. Like every year, one team goes home on the Wednesday when the final game of the round robin is played. And unfortunately, it was us that went home. And Guelph ended up playing in the finals against Edmonton and lost to Edmonton, a real good Edmonton team with a real good Guelph team. So for those that felt bad that we got it twice, we didn't win it twice at home. We won it the first time, and certainly didn't do as well as we thought we would do when we hosted in 2014. But still a great experience, and the London fans have had a chance to see the Memorial Cup up close and personal on 2 occasions, and it's like a 10-day long wedding celebration party that just goes on and on and on. So both years it was a great event.
Now, Trevor, I'm not going to let you off that easy, my friend. I know that there's other incredible things that you created, like things that, like events that you guys did during the Memorial Cup. Like, like I'm trying to think of an example, but
one of the things we added in 2014 is we did a deal with the Hockey Hall of Fame to bring down a 4,700 square foot Hockey Hall of Fame exhibit.
Yes.
Of all kinds of memorabilia with a focus on junior hockey. It wasn't all junior, but there was a big emphasis on junior hockey. And, people in London that didn't have the desire to go 2 hours to Toronto, the Hall of Fame could see it right down in Covent Garden. And we allowed everybody to come in for free, and you could shoot pucks and do all the interactive stuff. And every night we had a panel of retired players. Troy Crowder, who you would know, was there one night. Brian Kilray. We had, alumni that came back from our league and talked to the fans in a Q&A. Sorry, they did an interview like with Mike Stubbs, the radio host, and then did a Q&A with the fans. So I was proud that we did that. And Rick Doyle, who is a former London Knight, Colorado draft pick way back when, and is the voice of the London Knights on Rogers Cable. He was instrumental in helping build out that event. And we did golf tournaments. We did pancake breakfasts to raise money for charities. We raised in 2005, we raised $50,000 for Parkwood Hospital, which is the veterans care facility in London where all the guys that served our country in the Second World War and the Korean War were staying. We raised $50,000. So in 2014, we said, we're adopting Parkwood again as our charity of choice, but this time we want to raise $100,000. And we did raise 100. And we also raised money as well for the families of veterans from Afghanistan who had been injured or killed. So, we did some great charitable work in London, and I was very proud of that too. We didn't win the tournament in 2014, but I think we contributed a lot to the landscape generally, charitable hockey wise, all sorts of stuff. So,
yes. Yeah. Now let's see. I'm seeing it here. Now, this award of distinction by the Federal Minister of Veteran Affairs, the efforts for raising awareness for veteran issues. That was the same year when you got this award?
Oh, that was 2005. Yeah, I was very fortunate that the year of the veteran, like the Memorial Cup, as you know, is named in honor of those that served and gave their lives in the First World War. And it's now become emblematic of all people that serve, including first responders. So the Memorial Cup is named in honor of all those people. But 2005, when we were hosting the Cup in London the first time, coincidentally, it happened to be the year of the veteran. And we did a lot, like we raised, as I say, $50,000 for the veterans. And we also had a number of functions out at Parkwood Veterans Care Facility in London. And in fact, we held all of our host committee meetings there in a boardroom that they allowed us to use. And it was an unexpected and very pleasant surprise to me, I think on opening night, to be given that award by the Minister of Veteran Affairs for having made a difference to the lives of veterans. And even in 214, we tried to do what we could. Like I remember Dave Hutchison, former Leaf player, LA King player, former Londonite. We took the Memorial Cup to see a guy named Sid. They called him Sid the Kid. He was in the Veterans Care Facility. He was over 100 years old. So he couldn't come downstairs. So Hutchie and I took the Memorial Cup up to his room so that he could see it. And, it's moments like that you just, nothing else in your life ever compares to a special moment like that. And to be able to contribute to brightening the day of a veteran like that was a special moment. And, I still see Hutchie. We're friends. He's down in London, and a great moment to share with Hutch and with Sid the Kid, who was over 100 at the time.
That's so cool, man. Trevor, this is what I was.
Memories.
Yes. Okay. This is what I was thinking of, man. This was so interesting to me when I heard about this. Now, what reminded me is when you said the name Troy Crowder. Didn't you set up something with the war veterans and the tough guys in the NHL and the similarities between their personalities and how they show that for their teams?
Yeah, one of the nights we had in the Hall of Fame, like at the end of the day, we had the former players back to do the Q&A and the interviews. And we had some tough guys who, like Troy Crowder, and forgive me, I'm going off memory here, so I can't remember all the guys that were there. But they talked about how the real tough guys were the guys that had served in the armed forces. Like, we put on a uniform, we go out, we fight somebody, we're in the box for 5 minutes. But these guys were putting on uniforms and traveling 4,000 miles and putting their lives at risk, not just their sort of their ego or their reputation in a fight. And no disrespect to fighters, obviously, because that's But these guys were true heroes because they put on the uniforms, left home, traveled 4,000 miles, and ran the risk of getting killed. So we had a part of one of the nights we had was a group of tough guy NHL players getting together with veterans and comparing notes about how they all survived their battles.
That's really cool.
It was interesting. At the Memorial Cup in 2004, I had the privilege of having, or 2005 rather, I had Don Cherry and Ron McLean as our guest speakers at the dinner, and they came down free of charge as a favor to me, to junior hockey, to the Memorial Cup, to the Hunters. And they went over and met the veterans. And I said to the veterans, we had like a couple of veterans tables at the dinner on the opening night. And I said to them, who else would you like to meet? And I thought they might say, oh, I'd like to meet Corey Perry, or I'd like to meet Dale Hunter. No, they wanted to meet Dick Hunter, which is the father of Mark and Dale and Dave and Ronnie Hunter, who's a tough old bird in his own right. But they wanted to meet him because they thought any guy that could raise 3 kids to play in the NHL and win Stanley Cups is a guy we wanted to talk to. So Dick spoke to the veterans, which was also pretty neat. Dick's a one-of-a-kind guy, and heart of gold, tough as nails, and hard to keep down. Diagnosed, unfortunately, 3 years ago with cancer, and he's still plugging away with us,
fighting.
Living on the family farm, and he'll live to be 100.
Wow. What a tough guy, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, he's the head of the like the royal tough family, pretty much, of hockey, right?
Yeah. People talk about the Sutters, and they were great, obviously, and there were 6 of them played in the NHL. But before the Sutters, there was the 300 boys played in the NHL. Dave went first, then Dale, then Mark, all first-round picks. Dave won cups, 3 cups in Edmonton. Mark won a cup in Calgary, and Dale made it to the final with the Washington Capitals and was captain of the Washington Capitals. And Dale is the second most penalized player in the history of the National Hockey League, behind Tiger Williams. But Dale also played 1,000 games and had 1,000 points. Like, if you want to talk about a guy that should be in the Hockey Hall of Fame, in my respectful opinion, Dale Hunter's the guy. 1,000 games, 1,000 points, and he did it while recording the second highest penalty total in the history of the league. So that's my speech for the day. Dale Hunter for the Hockey Hall of Fame, along with Don Cherry, for crying out loud. Two of them should be there.
I agree 1,000%, my friend, for both of those names, right? Yeah. Dale Hunter and Don Cherry. Yeah, no, that's great, man. Hey, thank you for sharing that, Trevor, because I really, really appreciate that. So now, I heard one key word the last few minutes. It was speaker. Trevor, this part of the show, okay, I want to talk about, first of all, a company that I was really trying to get into hard a couple years ago before I learned the school qualifications, just because I'm so drawn to what you guys do, man. Now, we got a big sports conference coming up, my friend. I think it's the biggest sports conference in North America.
Yeah, I don't think it's the largest in North America, but it's certainly the largest in Canada every year. We're talking about the Primetime Sports Entertainment or Primetime Sports Management Conference and Trade Show, which is November 14th, 15th, 16th at the Western Harbor Castle Hotel. It's run by Primetime Sports, which is a company that Brian Burke and I founded and own together. And Brian Burke and I are co-chairs of the event every year, along with Shannon Hosford, who's the Chief Marketing Officer for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, who are our presenting sponsor. So between the three of us, we've run a number of these conferences, and it's gone from being sort of an embryonic thought back in 2007 when Brian and I talked about it. And the first year was 2008. And quite honestly, we really had no idea how to run a conference, but I think we had 49 speakers and 49 delegates, but we had a lot of fun. And we decided, hey, there's a need for this because this event gives young people and even older people like myself an opportunity to network with and learn from other leaders in the sports business community. So we're in our 14th year now. And, Brian and I do it as a labor of love. Brian's the president now of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So It's not like he's doing this to top up on his earnings. He does it because it's a labor of love. It's a labor of love for me too. And it's a lot of work, Sean. And You'll be there this year.
Yes, I will.
One of our deputies that's helping out, which is great. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. But it's a lot of work to put it together. But when it all comes together on game day, you think these are the three most favorite days of the year: the opening night reception, and then 2 days of great content with great speakers and networking receptions at the end of the night. We've had a labor arbitration case competition with law students in the past. We didn't do it this year because not all the schools are in class. We've had a business case competition, not doing it this year for the same reason. And we also have, and we are going ahead with it this year, we have a careers in sport workshop on the Monday night after the first day of the conference for young people to hear from people in the sports industry how to get into the industry. And they don't need to speak to me because I've been in it so long, my experience will be irrelevant to their experience. But we have younger people who are successful in the sports industry who are going to talk to young people about how to get involved in sports as a career. So it's great. We've got like Kaylee Theos from Basketball Canada, Mike Oak from the Peterborough Petes. We've got a gentleman coming from Woodbine Entertainment, Jeremy Dykstra. And forgive me, I have not committed all the names to memory, but the Careers in Sport Workshop is a great opportunity for people to come to our conference to learn from people that are young that have had success in the sports industry. And in fact, you don't even have to come to our conference to go to the Careers in Sport Workshop. You just have to buy a ticket for a modest amount to go to the Monday night event. So it's great to have a chance to give back to young people. And that's kind of what we're doing with this conference. 14 years later.
Yeah, Trevor, you're saying that you haven't been caught up with the names because, brother, there's so many of them. You guys it seems like we're talking before the recording, right? And I was saying that I'm just amazed with the guest speaker announcements that come over social media.
Just to give you an example, our first panel of the day on day one is entitled, like, we had to deal with COVID because COVID has been such an overriding factor in all of our lives. So our first panel is entitled The Greatest Comeback in Sports, Overcoming COVID-19. And on that panel, we have Christine Simpson as the moderator. Christine was Sportsnet, of course, and very knowledgeable and professional commentator and journalist. She's the moderator. We have Randy Ambrosi on that panel, commissioner of the CFL. Nick Sakavich, the CFL, of course, missed the whole season, then had a shortened season this year. Nick Sakavich, the commissioner of the National Lacrosse League, is on that panel. Tom Anselmi from the Edmonton Oilers, vice chair, alternate governor. They hosted the Bubble Championship in 2020 for the Stanley Cup, so they know a little bit about what COVID does. We've got Mark Gowdy from Ottawa Sports and Entertainment. The Red Blacks lost the season. The 67s lost the season. Those are their teams. And I have Jeff Atkinson from the Honda Indy. Honda Indy got wiped out 2 years in a row, and Jeff Atkinson knows better than anybody the impact of COVID when you have one weekend a year to generate all your revenue and your event gets wiped out. So that's just the first panel. And then later on Monday, as guest speakers, we have Stacey Allister, who's the executive director of the U.S. Tennis Association. So when they're handing out the hardware and the checks at the U.S. Open in Flushing Meadows, New York, 6 weeks ago, Stacey Allister's on the stage handing out the checks and the hardware. And what's so cool about her coming, aside from the fact that she's at the top of her field in tennis, is that she hails from Welland, Ontario, but has made it big in the United States in the tennis world. And then right after Stacey, Gary Bettman, who will be speaking at our conference for the 12th time in 14 years. Gary's been extremely generous with his time, and he's just such a recognizable sports person in this market, in hockey and in Canada and in Toronto, that when you announce that Gary's coming, that always helps boost attendance. So we're lucky. And I'm just, that's just the tip of the iceberg. On Tuesday, our guest speakers are Bruce Boudreau, who coached 13 years in the National Hockey League, good close friend of mine, love Bruce like a brother, and Luc Tardif, who's the newly appointed president of the International Ice Hockey Federation, is also lunchtime speaker. And he's with the IHF, but he hails from Trois-Rivières, Quebec, played in the Quebec Junior League. So, you couldn't have four better lunchtime speakers than Stacey Allister, Gary Bettman, Bruce Boudreau, and Luc Tardif. I can't wait to hear them.
Trevor, trust me, I'm at the edge of my seat listening to this lineup, right? But on top of that,
I'm just scratching the surface, as you know. We have over 60 speakers coming, and they're all leaders in their respective industries. The head of the Ticats, the head of the Hamilton Forge, the head of business for Toronto FC, for the Argonauts, for the Toronto Rock, for the Toronto Arrows, which is a rugby team in the national or Major League Rugby, is the name of the league. We've got people from all kinds of sports, and it's going to be great. And that, so if you haven't signed up, sign up now.
Yes. Okay. So now
that
Yeah. Say it again, Trevor, because we're right on the point right now.
Primetimesport.ca. You can see the agenda and you can register to attend. And Sean, I want to say that we have never raised our rates for attendees since we started in 2008. Our view has been keep the rate manageable and try and build up revenue by attracting more sponsors. So we're fortunate to have Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment as our presenting sponsor. Scotiabank is back for the 11th year, 12th year. Rogers Sportsnet's our media partner. My law firm supports the event. Woodbine Entertainment is another new sponsor partner this year. So, big names that help underwrite the cost of the event so that a student at the, Brock University Sports Management program can come to the event just as easily and as cheaply as somebody could have done it in 2008. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what, Trevor, like that is a big deal because it shows the commitment that you guys are having, and it also displays that this is a passion for you guys, not a moneymaker. This is your passion. You're doing this for others.
Yeah, it's a great event. I am very passionate about it, in case you couldn't tell. I'm very passionate about it. The 3 days of the event are the highlight of the year for me. It's a great opportunity for me to see and hear, like to see people I know and to listen to and learn from and network with other leaders in the sports industry. It's a one of a kind thing. And it's the sort of thing that Brian Burke and I didn't have the opportunity to attend when we were young bucks trying to find our way in the sports business. So everybody needs a break, and we got our breaks, but breaks are easier to create now because there's an infrastructure. It's a more evolved industry too. As I was saying earlier, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment hire all kinds of people that do all kinds of things. So there's lots of opportunities for young people to find their way in the sports world. And I encourage young people not to just sort of think, well, I want to be a coach, I want to be a general manager, I want to be a trainer, I want to be a player agent. There's a million other jobs off the ice, outside of the arena, in the office towers, running the business side of sports, that give you opportunities to get involved in a meaningful way. No question.
Now, and thank you for sharing that. Now, Trevor, now let me give some more insight on the point that you just made. Now, for example, someone like myself, I'm interested in being a sports broadcaster. The lineup that you guys have from Sportsnet and others,
Oh yeah.
I can't believe it, man.
Almost every one of our panels is moderated by a Sportsnet on-air personality. That's a deliberate strategy on our part to create immediate, name recognition and sizzle. And I won't name them all because I'm going to miss somebody, but we've got John Shannon, Paul Jones, Christine Simpson, Sam Cosentino, Elliot Friedman, Carolyn Cameron, our hostess throughout the event. And Carolyn is
one of
tremendous.
my favorites.
Yeah, this is her 4th year as the MC of our event, and she does a tremendous job. And when I see her on TV, I kind of feel like proud of her, although I have no reason to claim any credit for what she's done. But I feel proud of what a great job she does for a young person. She's only probably 31 years of age, but she's very polished, very mature, very professional. She'll be interviewing Stacey Allister
really
on the Monday, and she's also going to interview Luke Tardif on Tuesday. So no, we've been very lucky to get a lot of Sportsnet on-air personalities to Jeff Merrick is doing a panel on Tuesday morning. So yeah, we've been very fortunate.
I'm sure Mr. Ken Reed will be there.
I'm not sure if he's coming or not. The attendance list is not finalized until the drop of the puck on the morning of November 14.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of guests that I've had on this show. I know Mr. Michael Feuda is a guest speaker.
Mike was, but he is being sent. Mike Feuda, he's a friend of mine. He's an OHL alumnus. We both know him through the OHL. Mike is the ultimate self-made guy, by the way. I have a lot of respect and time for Mike Feuda and what he's accomplished in his career. He's done a great job of networking and building his brand and taking his game to the next level. Like when I first met him, he was an assistant coach with St. Mike's Majors.
Yes.
And, 15 years later, he's the vice president of the Los Angeles Kings and winning Stanley Cups. That's pretty meteoric climb for a young guy. But Mike was going to do our player evaluation panel on day 2, but the Carolina Hurricanes, who have recently hired Mike, are sending him over to Europe to scout 2 tournaments the weekend of our event. So Mike had to withdraw, but we'll have him again another time. We had him 5 years ago when he was with LA, but I have a lot of time for Mike Feuda. And Mike has a lot of respect throughout the hockey industry. So it's great for him to be back in the saddle with the Carolina Hurricanes, doing what he does as well as anybody, evaluating talent.
Yeah, I mean, I was so proud to see the Carolina hiring of Mike, you know what I mean? And he was my assistant coach when I played for Oshawa. And I was also a student at St. Mike's when he was the coach of the majors, and he actually wrote a reference letter for me to get into that school. So
nice.
Yeah, he's like trust me, man, your circle, everyone's awesome, Trevor. That's the type of people that you surround yourself with. You know what they say, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with the most, right?
Yeah, well, I've been very fortunate, as I say, to be in a position where I've had an opportunity to work with and learn from a lot of very influential, successful people. It's been a great run. Like I couldn't have written a better script, and I could never have predicted that my career would evolve and unfold the way it has. I've been very, very fortunate. And on the law side too, it's been tremendous. You know, I've had a chance to work with Bobby Orr, Don Cherry, Brian Burke, Razor Ruddock, the boxer, super agent Lee Steinberg. I've done work for the Detroit Lions, the Detroit Red Wings, Christy Yamaguchi, Scott Hamilton, Ann Ottenbright, all Olympic gold medalists. I've done golf deals with Mark O'Meara, Nick Price, Fred Couples, Greg Norman, Annika Sorenstam, and a guy named Eldrick Woods, also known as Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so it's been like, pinch me. I can't believe my good fortune to be doing all this stuff.
So, man, I'm blown away, Trevor. But listen, I want an honest answer here, okay? How excited are you, man, about this huge event 2 weeks from today, ladies and gentlemen, because it is November 1st. November 14th is the first day of the 3-day conference, right, Trev?
Yeah. The 14th is the welcome reception, which is an informal sort of get together of speakers, sponsors, trade show exhibitors, delegates that are in town, you know, have a drink, share an hors d'oeuvre, shoot the shit with each other. But the conference then starts in earnest the next morning on the Monday, the 15th. So
like, just so the listeners know, Trevor, like, this is taking place at the Weston Harbor Castle, which is right on the water, downtown Toronto. Queens Quay, right, would be the address?
Yeah, it's my favorite hotel. And they're tremendous to work with. Like, we have been there for 13 of the 14 years. 1 year they couldn't accommodate us and we had to go to the Royal York, which is a great facility too. But yeah, the Weston is just such a nice setting. And the people that we work with there are so accommodating, so helpful. Like, it's like, no matter what you ask for, they say, no worries, we can make that happen. Sure, no problem. You know, they just are so flexible to deal with. It's a tremendous facility. And it's a 5-star hotel. So it's a very elegant setting to host a premier event in.
Well, you said that absolutely perfect, because I'll tell you what, man, I got one regular season game call up, Trevor. You know who that team was against? Toronto Maple Leafs. You know what hotel I stayed
there,
at?
Sean.
The Weston Harbor Castle.
Yep.
That's where we stayed, man.
Yeah, I saw you play that game.
Yeah,
and felt proud again. Not that I had done anything to deserve a feeling of pride, but whenever any of your players are successful in hockey or in any other walk of life, you feel a sense of pride that, you know, these are your guys. Like, all my players are like surrogate kids that I have all over North America and some over in Europe too, that I've stayed in touch with. And it's always great to see them and to see them do well. And you do feel proud of them, because you hope you had some kind of hand in them getting to where they are. And they've had an influence on you too. Like, all those people, like some of the kids we had in Mississauga when you were there, like Nick Foley, who was our goalie. Like, Nick Foley, if you could have made a goaltender your captain before Roberto Luongo did, Nick Foley could have been a captain. You know, Nick Foley was just such a great human being and a great role model for young guys in the league, and a pretty good goalie on top of that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. And the other thing, just to add to that, Trevor, like, with the Mississauga team, there was so many guys that I met there that I still know to this day, like, that I'm friends with. You know what I mean? Like we mentioned Dan Sullivan, you know, like, I was the best man. I ended up being the best man in his wedding. You know what I mean? Yeah. And just like, we're still best of friends. I'm still friends with McGrattan. Like, there's a lot of guys that you know that you build relationships with these stops. And that's the beautiful thing about hockey. Now, this is what I'm looking forward to, Trevor. You know, you mentioned,
before we go further, just let me say something about Brian McGrattan.
Okay.
Brian McGrattan was a tough guy in the NHL, but his last year in junior, before he blew out his knee, he had 20 goals in 31 games. Like, he was on track for a 40-goal season, 45-goal season in the OHL. Brian McGrattan wasn't just big and rough and tough. He could skate very well, particularly for a big man, and he had a scoring touch. He had 20 goals in the OHL in 31 games. So Brian, Brian McGrattan is another guy that I have a lot of time for. And when Jason
big
Spezza left our team to go to Windsor, Brian McGrattan became my captain. And
yes.
I couldn't have picked a better guy. Guys on our team loved him. Guys around the league feared him. Perfect captain.
And the thing is, Trevor, is he got tougher as he got older, I found. Because I found that when he was on Mississauga, yes, Gratz was always tough. But man, did he ever get tougher when he turned pro, I believe. And he was such a good skater, Trevor, just to add to that. His crossovers, remember the way he would do his shin pads and his skates? He was a star, man.
Yeah, no, he was a great captain, great teammate. Everybody looked up to him. And when Jason left our team, excuse me, I was grateful to have Brian there to step up and assume a leadership role, along with Omar Arafati as well. Omar was
that's right. I remember Omar.
Yeah, and Omar was also a great player and a great leader in that dressing room. So we had a lot of young kids that hadn't played much in the OHL. So Omar had been around a long time, and Brian had been drafted by the LA Kings and had been to at least 2 NHL training camps at that point. So, and Brian was like this awesome physical specimen. If you remember, like, when he pulled his shirt off, like people were like, wow, like he's big, but he's like completely ripped too.
No, 100%. So now, Trevor, like I know we've gone over the time, but just to add one more thing, but before we go, about this Primetime Sports and Entertainment Conference, like, first of all, I want to add that it's also leading edge strategies for managing and marketing the business of sport. That's one thing that I was like, wow, that's one thing that I really want to pay attention to. I'm really looking forward to volunteering at this event. I'm really looking forward to learning from you, Patrice Whiffen, Brian Burke, everyone else that's involved with this, because you guys are such big leaders, Trevor. That's what people need to understand. Yes.
We're all fortunate to be in the positions that we're in, because, you need a break. And Brian Burke got a break when he was a young guy and got hired by Pat Quinn to be the assistant GM in Vancouver. If Brian hadn't done that, he might still be a lawyer in Boston, and I might just be a lawyer. I don't mean just a lawyer in Toronto, but had I not gotten my break with Don Cherry and Hockey Night Canada, I might be an avid seasons ticket holder of the Maple Leafs who knew a lot about statistics and who won what when. But I've had an opportunity to really live the dream, and I'm so grateful for it. It's just been a tremendous run for 30 years, basically. So,
yep. And remember the beginning of the show, brother. Think big, dream hard, and dare to be different.
Yes, no, I do say that. And when you started to say it, I smiled, because I do say that, and I say that to my kids. It's words to live by. Don't think it can't happen, because what it is you want to do, somebody else is already doing it, and if they can do it, you can do it. So
yes,
think big, dream hard, dare to be different, and make sure that your dream, or you put yourself in a position to make your own dream come true. And there's a lot of great opportunities out there. Grab one of them for yourself.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Trevor Whiffen, man, thank you so much for this, buddy.
My pleasure.
The insight.
Caught up with you, and I look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. And I want to thank our listeners for tuning in to another episode of The Sheriff, featuring special guest, Mr. Trevor Whiffen. Thank you for joining us. And guys, we'll see you next time. Woo!